Today is the moment that some of you guys have been waiting for. I'm going to be replacing the clutch on this 2010 Toyota Corolla with the 1.8 liter engine. Now this particular Corolla is equipped with the C59 5-speed manual transmission. And not too long ago, the release bearing has started to make a low-pitched whining noise when I'm just about to release the clutch pedal while it's in gear. Welcome back to the Moose Mobile Auto Repair channel. And so now I have the new release bearing here. Now how this works is that it moves onto the input shaft inside the transmission. So there is a release fork which moves back and forth. And so this is responsible for applying pressure against the pressure plate so that it moves back and forth, and so it can engage and disengage the clutch. So the way this works is I have the new release fork here. I'm just replacing it at the same time when the transmission is out, but you don't normally have to replace these. So anyhow, here's the new one here, and here's the release bearing. So this is usually connected onto the fork, and so when you press the clutch pedal, the slave cylinder, it pushes against the ball here. So when it pushes against here, the release fork, it just moves back and forth. I can show you guys afterwards when the transmission is out. I'll be able to show you then. So this just moves back and forth. So this release bearing has started to make a noise because the clutch is in between the engine and the transmission, and the release bearing is inside the transmission. I need to separate the two by taking the transmission out in this case, and the release bearing would be inside. So because I'm replacing the release bearing, I'm also going to be doing the clutch as well, along with the clutch kit that comes with the clutch disc, the pressure plate, and the release bearing. And I'm also replacing the flywheel. And we are also going to be doing the rear main seal at the same time. So anyhow, I'm just going to show you a brief clip of the noise. This noise doesn't always happen. It happens on and off, but happens more so in the morning when it's cold. So right now, since we have to remove the transmission out, we need to remove absolutely everything that's connected to the transmission. So we are going to start by removing the battery and the airbox. to remove the mass airflow sensor connector. Remove the cover out of the way. This is an 8 mil to remove the ductwork. Air filter. We have the 3 bolts to remove the AIRBOX housing. The harness here, that's in the back. There's a tab here usually. You just need to lift on the tab and to pull out. Sometimes if it doesn't come out, you're just gonna have to pry on the plastic in order to get it out. It's pretty like rusted and seized in there. So now there's the bracket, the 2 10 mil bolts that's holding the upper radiator hoses here. We're just going to put that on the side and just temporarily reinstall the 2 bolts there inside the battery holder bracket. So now we have the shifter cables here. We are going to remove the bracket clip here, this one, and this one here. So these 2, and then after that we have to remove the clips that's holding on to the transmission here. These 2 clips. We are going to spray a little bit of the penetrating oil just in this area, so it'll be easier to take off. If you'd use like a screwdriver or a vice grip or something, you'll be able to get it out. So we need to wiggle and work your way around to remove these clips. So for now we're going to work down here and get these clips out. Do the same for the other side. This one broke, I think. Wait, just a piece of rust there. So we can lift up on these control cables now, carefully. Should be able to come right out. If it doesn't come out, you just have to try to wiggle it out. I'm gonna use this tool and try to pry it out carefully. Seems like so. Make sure you disconnect the reverse gear switch here. There's a connector, so make sure you disconnect that electrical connector here. It's just a tab, so you push on it and then it comes out. So I'm still having a hard time trying to get this off. I don't think removing the bracket here is going to help here. This is still connected to the transmission. I need to get this out. It's seized onto the stud here, so I'm still trying to work it through. This one here is out, but this one here I'm still working on it. Just trying to use a hammer just to break off the rust, so I'm able to move that clip out of the way. So I'm able to move it. Hopefully we'll be able to get those clips out now. To do the other one. These are a pain in the butt. They're not supposed to be that hard, but unfortunately it's difficult on this one. I just need to wiggle the clip back and forth, side to side. Once you start to get it to move, then it becomes easier. So the clip is out now, all the rust here. We are going to clean it afterwards. I just need to wiggle the clip back and forth, side to side. Once you start to get it to move, then it becomes easier. So we're going to remove the control cable now out of here. Get this out of the way. Still need to get the control cable that's here off of the stud. Hey, good morning. So this control cable is no good. It was seized with the bushing, so I'm not able to save it. I'm going to have to replace that control cable unless if both of them come as a set. So I'll probably have to replace the control cable after I'm done. Because the sleeve in the bushing is seized up, so I'm not able to do anything about it. So I'm just trying to get the remainder of the pieces out, and so I can get the cable off. This is the washer. Bushing is just completely is seized on there. I will have to probably to heat it up and to get it out after. I'm probably going to do that when the transmission is out. So now you'll need to remove the two bolts that's holding the slave cylinder in place. There was a clip here that was holding the wiring harness that comes off. So this is a 12 mil. They're both 12 millimeters. So we are going to take that off. And then now there's a 10 mil bracket that's hiding here. So we're just gonna take off the slave cylinder first. Get that out of the way. We're gonna remove the 10 millimeter bolt that's holding the hydraulic line hose. So now we're just going to remove one of the starter bolts that's hiding down here, and there's two of the bell housing bolts that we are going to take off right now. There's this one for the starter bolt. And there's two more here on the bell housing. I won't be able to show you guys on camera, but there's two 14 millimeter bolts in the back here where these control cables were. We are going to remove the bracket because I need to get access to one of the bell housing bolts in the back. So there's the bracket here, one bolt here, and the one bolt here. So now I'll be able to get access to that bell housing bolt now in the back. So that is one of the bolts there for the bell housing, and then there's one down here. It's really hard to see. One right here, and then there's the one that I took out that's on top here. And I mentioned earlier about the reverse switch, the backup switch. Make sure you take that connector out. I tucked the connector here against the engine. So now we are going to jack up the vehicle, drain the transmission fluid, and remove the axles out. And we're also going to take the other bolt for the starter and get all of that out as well. So we are just going to remove the splash shield out of here, out of the way. This was the clip that was on hanging on for the wiring harness. So we are going to remove this splash shield out of here. So we're going to remove the splash shield, remove these clips, the clip, and the two 10 millimeter bolts. want to drain the transmission fluid. So we're going to open them up, the fill and the drain plugs. So now we are going to remove the axles, the axle nuts on both sides. So we're at the driver's side at the moment. So we are going to unstake this. I'm probably going to be replacing these with a brand new one. So you can either unstake it, or you can use a grinding wheel or a cutoff wheel and cut a line here so you don't damage the threads on the axle. So anyhow, I'm just gonna try to unstake this now. So we want to remove the axle now. So we are going to do the same for the other side as well. For some reason this was not staked, I'm not sure why. So these axles have been replaced some time ago on this vehicle. So remove the two nuts and the one bolt that's holding the lower ball joint control arm in place. It's a 17. So now I just need to push the control arm down to get it out of the way. Can take the axle out. So now the axle is out. So now we are going to get the axle out. This is the driver's side. I'm just using one of my specialty axle popper tools, which makes it a bit easier to get these axles out. So we'll do the same for the passenger side. So now the axles are out. We're just going to remove the plastic covers out of the way, the splash shield. So now we need to remove the electrical connections for the starter motor, and then at the very end we are going to take off the last bolt here. There's a plastic a cover that needs to be taken off to get access to the nut. So this is a 12 mil nut here. Get that out of the way. We are going to clean the corrosion afterwards. We're going to install this nut here and back. And we are going to remove the last bolt here for the starter, which is part of the bell housing bolts. After that, you should just be able to grab the starter and it should come out. If not, you may have to give it a whack with a hammer, a few light whacks. There was the starter. Here's the starter. Yeah. There's a lot of corrosion here on the copper wire. So now you have to remove the ground cable that's on the transmission here. So it's a 14 mil. That's for that. And this is for the bracket for the slave cylinder line, brake line, or the clutch line, and the hydraulic hose is also a 14 mil. So we need to get that out of the way. Probably gonna use a bungee cord or something to hang this thing up and to get it out of the way. Just reinstall the bolt for the ground cable. Just leave it in there so we know that's where it goes. And now we're just going to remove the harness out of the way here. So you can see I hung up the slave cylinder and everything with a bungee cord. So now we are going to remove the engine support here. Engine support, this piece here that's in the middle, that's what they call it. Then we're gonna continue removing the front transmission mount, and then the rear transmission mount. We're gonna leave the one on top very last. There's a nut that's in the back here, so we're going to take that out. Now we have two 14 mils here. So now there's a total of I believe 4 bolts for the rear engine mount, and I think there's 1 bolt here for the engine support, so we have to take all of them off. So there's a nut here, a bolt here, and I believe there's 2 nuts in between these 2 here. So we are going to take all of them off. They are 14. So I'm gonna take this bolt out. So I still have to take out the through bolt that's on top in order to get this completely out. So just trying to push this out of the way. So I'm underneath the hood here. I need to get access to that 17 millimeter through bolt and take that out. So I'm just using a long ratchet and an extension here. So I got the through bolt out. Just be warned that the engine and the transmission will shift down. It'll go downwards like this. I'm able to move the engine now along with the transmission, so you have to be careful. We are going to jack up the engine soon after we get this center engine support out. So here we have the front transmission mount. I left it here. I didn't touch it. I just wanted to keep it attached to the engine support. And then you can see the studs, they're coming out here in the back. So we are going to take this out. So we're going to have to get that mount out first before we can take the support out. So right now I'm trying to take the rear engine mount out. So there's a bracket that's on the back of the transmission. We are going to remove the 3 bolts here. They are 14 millimeters. One here, one in the on the side here, and there's one on the top in the back. So we're just removing the last bolt here for this bracket so we can get the mount and everything out. Now it's out. Now we can take the mount out and everything out. What's next is we're probably going to get this out just to clear some room here so we can get the transmission out easily without any obstruction. This is pretty much the same as the rear. 14 millimeter bolts. There's a total of 3 of them. So now we just need to remove the bell housing bolts. There's a total of 4 on this side. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So on this side there was a total of 5 bolts actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the one on top. So now I have my transmission jack. It's all ready now with blocks of wood. So I just jacked up the transmission. Now I'm just going to raise the transmission so that I'm able to get the bolt out. You can see that the mount is a bit mushed, so I need to jack it up a tiny bit more to straighten it out. And I'm just going to remove the bolts to get the mount off. So now the transmission is out. Now you can see the pressure plate and the clutch and the flywheel inside. You just have to be careful when you separate the engine. You gotta make sure that the input shaft is completely separated away from the engine, because when you drop that transmission, if it's not all the way out, it could damage and break the input shaft. So as you can see, the transmission is out. So I was talking about the release fork earlier. So when you move the release fork, when it's engaged by the slave cylinder, the release bearing moves. So as you can see, it's making a lot of noise. You can hear the bearing. So we are just going to remove the release fork. Here, there's a boot. So we are going to take that off. Also, now is a good time to check for play in the input shaft. If you want to measure with a dial indicator, see how much play there is. So we are going to be cleaning up the transmission and everything, and lubricating everything here, and just going from there. And then we are going to remove the pressure plate and the clutch and everything off of the engine. So I'm going to be removing the pressure plate, but I just want to mark it just in case, so I know the orientation. You don't have to, but it's just something I like to do. So we are going to remove the pressure plate. There's a total of 6 12 millimeter bolts. So these flywheel bolts are 12.14 millimeters. So there's a total of 8 of them. You're usually not supposed to use an impact, but it's becoming a pain in the butt for me. So I'm just gonna use this. So I'm going to clean the engine. Make sure it's free of brake dust.